When I went home in my parents' custody, legitimately registered at birth, there were 4 older females who were not my older sisters in my household. They were pretending to be my father's daughters after being illegally registered to my parents at birth. They were the children of 4 separate men to my father Duke and Lord Kevin Webb the Habsburg, who gained his royal title in 1984. Their mother was an almost completely identical-looking female to my father's real wife Judith, called Pauline. Pauline had started pretending to be my father Kevin's wife, full-time, around 3 months after he got married on the 3rd of May, 1958. It was follow-up stalking by Australian organised crime in cooperation with neo-Nazis as an extension of torture and abuse of my Habsburg royal family during World War II. Pauline had swapped places with Judith whilst pregnant with the granddaughter of a neo-Nazi who was convicted at the Nuremberg trials immediately after World War II. That neo-Nazi had tortured my father's grandfather Prince Sebastian Habsburg whilst he was illegally held prisoner in Dachau prison in 1944-45. The first illegally registered child of Pauline, the imposter wife of my father, was born on the 25th of March, 1959. She was named after my mother Judith, my father's real wife, and her adopted mother May. Her grandfather was Ricky O'Shea. O'Shea was a maximum security prison inmate in December 1943 in Dachau prison and an avid Liverpool FC supporter. O'Shea was serving 9 life sentences and was never to be released from jail. His prison sentence was labelled the term of his natural life, as there was no death penalty in Germany at the time. He escaped jail when a terrorism group that formed in December 1943 took the jail in a prolonged gunfight over several days. The terrorism group named itself the Neo-Nazis that month. After O'Shea escaped, he was given the illegal job of pretending to run the Dachau jail he escaped from by the Neo-Nazis. Other escaped inmates assumed the identities of the deceased prison staff and pretended to run the jail for him using the real jail staff's identities and uniforms. O'Shea was the one exception to that routine. O'Shea did not assume the identity of the deceased employed prison governor, a man called Aurelius, who was photographed dead in the prison yard shortly after the jail was taken by the neo-Nazis. Instead, the neo-Nazis had O'Shea made over by a professional film production crew as if for a film role and had him illegally use the identity of Hermann Going instead. Going had been knocked unconscious, mutilated, and dumped in the jail in his thermal underwear. He was one of the first people to be illegally detained in the jail by the neo-Nazis for being homosexual. O'Shea wore Going's altered clothing and used Hermann's identity documents whilst pretending to run the jail. O'Shea tortured any male homosexual illegally detained in the jail by the neo-Nazis until the jail was taken at gunpoint by Allied troops from Great Britain in June 1945. One of O'Shea's victims between January 1944 and June 1945 was my father Kevin's grandfather Prince Sebastian Habsburg. When my father got married in May 1958, they replaced his new wife Judith with an almost identical lookalike called Pauline. Pauline was pregnant with O'Shea's granddaughter. Prince Sebastian Habsburg was in palliative care in Austria, terminally ill at the time. My mother Judith went elsewhere, leaving Pauline at home pretending to be my father's wife. Judith dumped the result of the first legitimate pregnancy to my father Kevin Webb the Habsburg, unregistered at birth. The child or children would have been eligible to become Habsburg royal family members. It was done so that a new royal eligible Habsburg baby of my father Kevin Webb the Habsburg would be replaced with the grandchild of a neo-Nazi who tortured my great-grandfather Prince Sebastian Habsburg during World War II instead. They thought it was the ultimate torture tease of Prince Sebastian on his deathbed. They illegally filmed him every day in palliative care, incorrectly assuming he would be sent official royal word of my father's firstborn child in the mail with a photograph. Just to see what happened when he saw the granddaughter of O'Shea instead. A letter was never required, so was never sent. They illegally filmed him every day until he died in 1960, pretending to be waiting for the letter and the photograph of O'Shea's granddaughter to arrive, to film Prince Sebastian looking at it. Instead of Australian organised crime getting footage of Prince Sebastian reading a letter about his grandson Kevin's firstborn eligible Habsburg child, which should have been a new eligible Webb the Habsburg baby, and then seeing the baby photo of O'Shea's granddaughter. They got film and audio of Prince Sebastian being reunited with Kaiser Adolf Hitler the Hohenzollern for the first time since November 1943. My great-grandfather Kaiser Adolf Hitler and my great-grandfather Prince Sebastian were officially the Royal Hohenzollern couple in 1943, before Adolf's abduction and illegal imprisonment. Kaiser Adolf Hitler escaped prisoner of war jail in late 1959 and was reunited with Prince Sebastian in the palliative care hospital by Italian law enforcement in 1960. The Australian lunatics got illegally recorded film, audio, and still images of them being reunited, then spending 6 days quietly talking together every day before Prince Sebastian died with Kaiser Adolf Hitler sitting with him in 1960. O'Shea was arrested by Brit troops in June 1945 and eventually tried at Nuremberg starting November 1945. He was found guilty of escaping jail, torturing homosexuals illegally detained in the jail for the rest of World War II, and illegally using the identity of one of his victims, Hermann Going, whilst doing it. Going is my surname Webb in German. Hermann was a relative of my Webb family, part French. Lunatics now pretend he was the real Hermann Going on trial in fictional history media. O'Shea was murdered by other prison inmates in 1946 when they found out who he was, what he did to homosexuals in 1944 and 1945, and that he was pretending to be Hermann Going when doing it. O'Shea was the grandfather of the oldest female pretending to be my oldest sister in my family household when I was born in 1972. She was 12 at the time and looked a lot like her grandfather Ricky.